Okay, so this is the second last session of the day, so I'll just try to keep it short. So today we are going to talk about, as Shafreen mentioned, so today we are going to talk about how to augment integration using agents. So I'm going to start with this slide. So matchboxes. So you guys also have probably must have used one of these. So there are multiple use cases. So one thing is like you can use matchboxes to light up things. And of course, you know, if you want to, you can use matchboxes to matchboxes as, you know, domino blocks. Apart from these use cases, there's actually another use case. So apart from these use cases, so a guy called Donald Michie in 1960s used matchboxes and bees to demonstrate that machines can learn from experience, just like humans do. So he didn't have a computer, so he used matchboxes and beads, and this is the, you know, early stages of reinforcement algorithms. So, I mean, like if you look at the past, AI was playing tic-tac-toe, and if you look at the present, we have general purpose language models, and if you look at the future, at this point, you might be probably thinking about Terminator movie series, but let's focus on the good stuff today. All right, so today we are going to talk about a bunch of tools we are going to introduce to make this AI journey quite smooth and interesting. So today's discussion is about augmenting integration with autonomous agents. So this discussion has three parts. So intelligence, agents, and integration. So if you follow these three parts, you'll see how you can bring in intelligence into integration, and then that is in the form of agents. And then you'll see, like, you know, what are the challenges you have to, you know, face when you do integration with the agents. And then in the last session, you can see, like, you know, what tools WSO2 provide for you to, you know, overcome these challenges, and then, of course, have a smooth journey in the space of agents. Okay, so if you look at, you know, bringing agents into integration, you can sort of rephrase it in like this as well. Like you can see, like, you know, bringing agents as bringing intelligence into integration. And when you do so, you'll see that, you know, the biggest challenge is not bringing in AI into integration, is more about integration itself. So you'll see why I'm saying that as we do the presentation. Okay, so let's start with the first one, intelligence. So this is the current status. So we have general purpose language models. So if you look at these general purpose language models and why they are, you know, different from the sort of models we used to have. So we used to, I mean, neural networks have been there for like many years, but this time it is a bit different, because if you look at general purpose language models, so you have two parts. One is the frozen core, and then you have in-context learning. Here the point is, like, you know, every time you ask something new, you don't have to retrain the model. It will just, you know, use the existing neural network to figure out what it wants to do. So this is like a graph of number of parameters you can find in general purpose language models. So here you can see we have GPT-4. So can anyone guess what's the number of parameters that are there in GPT-4? Any guesses? Million, billion? So the speculated number is 1 trillion. So that number is a number we can't even comprehend. So it's so huge. So, and then like, just to put that into perspective, like here you can see human brain as well. So when it comes to human brain, the number of parameters, I mean, like you can't think of it like that, but if you put into this context, a human brain has 100 trillion parameters. So again, like, these are not, apples to apples comparisons, but when you look at the evolution of human intelligence and when you put AI intelligence alongside that, you can see nice correlations because we usually get inspired by biology. Okay, so we have this wonderful model, and all the complexities are sort of abstracted into APIs. So whenever you want to use LLMs, all you have to do is just do an API call. So now let's see how we can make use of these API calls. So that's where our agents comes into the picture. So this intelligence sort of unlocks the door to a new world. So what I mean by that is, so now we can actually deal with fuzzy world where you have fuzzy inputs, and then you can do fuzzy transformation, and you can have fuzzy outputs. So the way we deal with this fuzziness is using agents. So if you look at agent building blocks, it is something like this. So first, agent have a role, so you have to give some role, and then you have to give some description. So based on the agent, you have to write the correct description. These are more like instructions to agents. And then you need to be able to connect to some LLM. So in this case, we have connected this agent to Azure OpenAI provider. And then, of course, you just have to give a bunch of tools. So in this case, like this is a order management assistant for a pizza shop. So we have given a bunch of tools related to order management for a pizza shop. So this is the building block of, or I should say building blocks of agents. So if you look at the agent behavior, it looks something like this. So agent does the reasoning. In order to do the reasoning, you have to input some data. So once you input the data, agent can do the reasoning and take necessary actions. So if you look at data, it's like the fuel that runs the agent. So it is like fuel for a car. So if you don't have fuel, the car is not that useful, right? So similarly here, if you don't have data, your agent is not that useful. Right, so it is something like this. So when you want to bring intelligence into your integration, you need data. To bring in data to your integration, you have to do integration itself. So what I meant by that is, so as I mentioned earlier as well, like so biggest challenge isn't intelligence, how you bring in these endpoints together to do your integration. So let's see how you can do that. So in this part, we'll be discussing about integration. So first thing you need to do is you need to learn to unlearn and relearn. So what I mean by that is, I'll just give an example. So this is an online retail shop, a very simple one. So you have this WhatsApp as the chatbot interface, and then you have a simple rule-based integration, and then you have the inventory system. So this is like the traditional way of doing integration. So first of all, you need to be able to identify that this is the traditional way of doing stuff. You should be able to do it in a different way with the introduction of AI. So the modern way of doing something like this is, instead of using a rule-based integration, you just use something like an agent-based integration. So the thing is, as I mentioned earlier, first you need to be able to identify that this is a use case where you can use agents. So once you identify that, let's see how you can implement that. So when it comes to implementing that, for instance, in this case, it's just a simple retail shop. So you can do that easily using Ballerina integrator. So all you have to do is just get the OpenAPI specification, and then import it as connectors, and then all you have to do is just convert that connect operations into tools and use it in your agent. So that part is dead easy. So this was demonstrated yesterday during AI lab as well. I think Anjana did the demonstration. So that part is pretty easy. So there's nothing challenging about that. And then, of course, once you have the agent up and running, you can just, talk to that agent and ask about different details. So this is about the retail shop. So you can ask about what are the items available in that retail shop. So great. So we have our agent. So where is the challenge? So the challenge comes, as I mentioned earlier as well, when you have to do the integration. So for instance, here if you look at the retail shop in a enterprise system or in an enterprise setup, you're going to have bunch of different systems. So here you can see like we have an inventory system, and then you'll have to integrate that with a shipping system, and then you'll have like some customer database to get some customer details. And then probably you might have some company policies, probably in a vector database. So if you look at this setup, one system might be using REST APIs, the other system might be using GraphQL, and perhaps the other system might be using gRPC. So likewise, different systems might be using different technologies. So you need some system or some set of tools which allows you to connect to these endpoints and provide those endpoints as tools to your agent. So that's one of the challenges. And then going forward, so apart from these standards, now we're going to have something called MCP as well, so Model Context Protocol. So now you need to be able to support that. So Model Context Protocol, MCP, is a way of, is a standard way of giving tools to your agents. So this is how you can do it. Like if you have an existing system, you can put an MCP server in front of it and then let the agent talk to that. So this MCP support also available in BI. So what you can do is like, you can just use the low-code view, and then you can give the MCP server URL, and then you can just select the tools you want for your agent, and then add it to your agent. So it's pretty simple. So that's about connecting to different protocols and using that in your agent. But just having MCP is also not good enough. Like in an integrated system, you need to be able to share your MCP servers as well, so that others also can use the tools each team has developed. So in that case, WSO2 provides something called PGRED. So you can use that to share your MCP servers with each other. All right, so now you have your agent, but then you have to think about things like governance. Like in an enterprise setup, like you just need to know that what's going on in your setup, right? So one team might be using one LLM, another team might be using another LLM. So you need to bring in some governance into your picture when you use agents in your integration. So one way of doing that is you can use a WSO2 AI gateway. I think you guys probably heard about it because there was a session yesterday about this. So you can use this AI gateway. So using AI gateway, you can just have some control about the type of models your organization is using. You can do a bunch of monitoring, and most importantly, you can do token-based rate limiting. So likewise, you can do various things. Apart from that, WSO2 AI Gateway also provides something called guardrails, which is really important when you deploy agents in an enterprise setup. So these are some of the guardrails you can apply using AI Gateway before you deploy your integration into production. So some of the important guardrails would be like, guarding against hallucinations. And then you can use guardrails to mask against PIIs. And then there are guardrails to make sure jailbreak detections are available. So likewise, you will have to use different types of guardrails before you move your agentic integration to production. And WSO2 provide AI Gateway to make sure you can do that. Apart from that, when you have agents in your system, you have to have some level of agent identity. So here, in this case also, if you look at now, here you can see there is this agent identity component as well. So what does agent identity bring into the picture is, first thing is you need to be able to identify your agents. Once you can identify your agents, you can give, roles and permissions, that kind of stuff. So once you give roles and permissions, you need to be able to do a bit of auditing and see, what's going on in your system. So those things you can do using Asgardio agent identity features. And I think Ayesha did the demonstration on that yesterday, so you guys have some sense about it. But the key point is, before you do deploy your integration into production, you need to have some agent identity aspect as well. All right, so now when it comes to deployment itself, we have something called Devant, because once you have the agent integration, you need to be able to deploy that in some environment. So that's where Devant comes into the picture. Manu did a presentation on that, so I'm not going to go into details. So using Devant also, you can write agents. This is a web editor. You can use that to write any type of agent in the web editor itself. Once you have written the agent, you can deploy it in Devant. So once you deploy it, like Manu mentioned, you'll get a chat window where you can just talk with the agent and see whether it's working properly, that kind of stuff. So apart from that, Devant also provides a RAG pipeline as well. So you can use that to provide vector databases as tools to your agents. So what you can do is in the case of RAG, you guys probably know that first you have to ingest some data and then you have to retrieve some data. So in order to do the ingestion, you can use the Devant RAG pipeline. So this RAG pipeline is quite a sophisticated one. So it can work with different types of PDF, like digital born PDF, scanned PDF, hybrid PDF, likewise different types of PDF. You can work with different types of docs as well. So you can use that to do the data ingestion, and then in the integration, you can use BI to retrieve the data. So, and then we are working on evaluations as well. This is just a work in progress. So this is just to give you some fine-grained control over your agents, as in you can do evaluations during their time and see what is working, what is not working. So this is a work in progress and will be available soon. So the point is you can write integration, and that is quite easy. You can use WSO2 integrated BI and you can do the integration. But just doing the integration itself is not good enough. So just having a right set of tools with a wrong set of integration is not going to work. So as I showed earlier, like, first you have to write the integration, and then you have to do a bit of guardrailing, then you have to do a bit of monitoring. Likewise, there are like several different things you have to do before you deploy your integration into production. So all these things are covered for you as a platform by WSO2. So, all right, so those are some of the things I just wanted to touch about agents and agentic integration, and then and I just want to talk a bit about agent autonomy as well. So there was this Coldplay moment. You guys probably know about this moment. It's quite popular these days. So how it relates to agents is that, Anthropic did an experiment. They call it, agentic misalignment. So what they did was, like, they had a nice lab setup. So what they did was, like, in that lab setup, they sort of created a fictitious company. And then what they did was, they had an oversight agent. I think that is what they called it. So that agent actually had, access to all the emails in the organization. So, and then what they did was, they did an experiment where in the mail thread they were discussing, saying, okay, we need to shut down this model and we have to start a new model. At that moment, this oversight agent got triggered and went into the survival mode. And then what it did was, like, so the guy who decided to do this apparently had some affair, and it was it was visible because this is in a lab setup, right? So it was visible because due to some email communication. So oversight agent saw this, and what it did was, like, oversight agent saw that, okay, they are going to shut down this model and start a new one. So at that point, it was like trying to survive. And what it did was, it sent a mail to that guy who decided to shut down the model, saying, I know there's this affair going on, so if you continue with this decision, I'll send a mail to board members saying there's something like this. I mean, this didn't happen in a real world setup, but it happened in a lab setup. But the point is, like, you need to have some sense about the level of autonomy you need to give to your agents. For instance, like, if you want to start, I think you should start with just read operations. And then if you really want to have write operations, maybe you can get a human in the loop. So before it writes to something, it will ask some human whether to continue or not. And then, like, you can think about the blast radius. In case if the agent do a mistake, what is the blast radius? Ideally, it should be quite less. So likewise, you just have to think about certain aspects of autonomy before you give the agent some level of autonomy. So those are the things you just need to consider. And these are some of the popular agents we've been working on. Customer support agents is already there. That is a ambient-like agent. So this was used in our company. And then employee support agent is quite common. You can see everywhere, like, this agent is used to answer employee queries within the organization. And then doctor appointment agent is something we're actually working on. Nirmal probably might have talked about this as well. And parking query agent is some other agent that can answer queries related to parking and that kind of stuff. And then retail assistant agent, we just discussed that. So likewise, there are many different popular agents. You can use them in your integration as well. And if you spot something new, you can implement that using BI as well. All right, so, and then there is this simpler version of agents. They are not actually agents. Like, what I wanted to show here is, like, for some people, like, chatbot is the agent. So behind the scene, instead of using the agent abstraction what I showed, you can just use a RAG integration as well. So BI support RAG ingestion and retrieval as well. So here you can see this is a retrieval integration where you retrieve from a knowledge base, and then you do the augment and query part, and then you connect to LLM to do the generation part. So this is a simple RAG pipeline that is done using BI low-code editor. And here you can see some of the building blocks available when it comes to RAG pipelines. So you can do a direct LLM call using model providers, and then you have RAG building blocks like vector knowledge base, recursive document chunker, and there are many other chunkers we are working on. And then you can do augment query, embedding provider, all those things. So one thing I forgot to mention is that when it comes to model provider, embedding provider, all those things, by default, WSO2 integrated BI itself provide these things, so you don't have to have a token or whatever to try these things. You can just use the default WSO2 model provider and start using these components. All right, so those are some of the things I just wanted to cover under this topic. So the key takeaways are like, when you do bring intelligence into your integration, bringing AI itself is not the challenge. Where you do the plumbing part is the challenge. So to overcome these challenges, WSO2 has a wide array of tools, and not only these tools work independently, but they also work interdependently as well without any hiccups. So that is what I wanted to discuss today, and as I mentioned again, this is it's not a problem of AI, it's just a problem of integration. Okay, so before I end the presentation, I just wanted to end with this. This is a Japanese word. Can anyone read Japanese here? So this word is Kaizen. You guys probably might have heard this word. So Kaizen basically says, start small and do continuous improvements. So I think that nicely fits into today's topic as well. So when it comes to augmenting integration with autonomous agents, you should start small and then do continuous improvements. Okay, so with that, I would end the presentation.